welcome to A Brand New Day with BTS, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a day-by-day history and song discussion of the South Korean music group internationally known as BTS. In this episode, I discuss the BTS comeback so far and the start of the world tour, April 9th in BTS History, and the ultimate workaholic song, Disease, from the 2020 album B. First, recent activity, March 27th to April 15th. It's been a busy 3 weeks. Just a quick podcast-related update now that I'm a month into my new job and schedule. It looks like probably a podcast episode is possible every 3 to 4 weeks, so there will be at least one per month. It's a far cry from the weekly or every 2 weeks that I could do while I was unemployed, but hopefully you understand that I need to make money. It basically takes me about 3 working days to write, record, and edit and process an episode. So the fact that I only have evenings and weekends for that now, plus I want to actually watch all the content that BTS is releasing, it means that the episodes are going to take a little bit longer. I was going to say something else that I've now forgotten. Oh, in the summertime, just like last summer when I was unemployed and I still had to take a really long break in the summer between episodes, that's still going to happen because my summers still are my summers. And also this summer, I'm going to be going to some of the BTS concerts, which involves traveling to other continents for me personally. So that's going to take a lot of time. So July and August, probably, just like looking far ahead into the future of this podcast, July and August probably won't have episodes. We'll see. July might have one. It might just be like a quick episode of me being like, woo, those concerts were amazing. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's go through recent activity. Like last time, I'm going to skip the social media posts for the most part because there is too much content to discuss. But if you want great behind-the-scenes photos, dance challenges, really nice photos of the members at the concerts, and to see what videos from ARMY BTS members have liked or commented on, please check out their Instagram accounts. They've also been active a little on Weverse, and V has been playing with his new TikTok account as well. We found out he has JK do all his editing, which is hilarious. So yeah, it's all a good time. Go look at it yourself. We'll start where we left off. Netflix released the documentary BTS The Return. It chronicles primarily their final 2 weeks in LA, since the focus of the documentary is on the bond between the members rather than the songwriting process itself. The documentary only starts once Jin arrives in LA after his tour. It's a really good documentary. There seems to be some debate about which English subtitle option is best to watch with, like which is the best translation. Whether it's closed captioning or just the English subtitle that only translates the Korean and does not subtitle the English when it's spoken. There are subtle differences that people have very, very strong opinions about. My suggestion is to watch both and decide for yourself. And if you know another language, watch that one as well. I actually plan to watch it with German, but I haven't had a chance yet. On the same day the documentary was released, BTS flew back to Korea from New York. They also released the swim dance practice, and Jimin, V, and Jin did a little cooking show for Vogue. That's on YouTube. They also appeared on a pre-recorded segment of Z100 radio in New York. And yes, I said Z, the Canadian and British way. When they were safely back in Korea, a lot of the pre-recorded Korean YouTube shows that they had been filming over the past few months started to be posted. RM and V appeared on BDNS YouTube channel, which is a favorite YouTube channel of theirs. They really like the host's calm, thoughtful energy. V also appeared on his own on the YouTube show Fairy Jaehyung, which is another very calm and lovely interview show where the host invites the guest over to his actual home and cooks food for the guest while they chat. On March 31st, Korean Standard Time, we got the announcement that Swim achieved #1 on the Hot 100 chart, and Arirang as an album got #1 on the Hot 200 albums chart. The members were very grateful towards ARMY and excited. I'm sure it helped relieve even more of the anxiety they had about what it would be like not only coming back after a long break, but also making really bold decisions that may have been counter to the expectations people have had. Also on the 31st, we got the release of Swim Live Clip 2 swimming pool version, which is hilarious, and it's just another example of something I'm absolutely loving about BTS 2.0, as they say, and it's that they seem to be letting out their sense of humor even more than they did before. On April 1st, BTS did a Weverse Live to celebrate the number ones on the Hot 100 and Hot 200 lists. It's a relatively short live stream where they mostly talk about swim, but we find out in it that Come Over, the hidden track on the deluxe LP, was a song that Suga argued for 2 weeks about being put on the album. And there seems to be some miscommunication between the label and Suga about its placement as a hidden track on a vinyl instead of being released on music sites. Hopefully they sort that out and we get more access to it in the future, as Suga clearly wants. For now, you can find uploads of it by ARMY with good equipment, and you can save it as a local file to your device and add it to your music streams that way. It obviously won't count for charts, but it will at least fulfill Suga's desire for more ARMY than just those with record players to be able to hear it. It's a really good song. On April 2nd, the music video for 2.0 was released. It's an homage to the movie Old Boy by Park Chan-wook, who is a favorite director of Namjoon's. But also Old Boy has some filmmaking in it that is so cool that it's now taught in film schools around the world. So the music video plays with both BTS's senses of humor, their rise from the basement to the penthouse, and the theme of the song in general. Anyway, this isn't an episode about 2.0, so I'll stop there. On April 3rd in Japan, V and Jungkook appeared on Sore Snowmani Yorosete Kudasai SP, and I'm sorry if I just pronounced that all super horribly. I actually do have listeners in Japan, so I just want you to know I am very, very sorry that I don't speak Japanese, and it's a hard language for me to get right. Anyway, I think this particular episode may have been filmed in South Korea, which is why we didn't see Jungkook and V sneaking off to Japan to film it at any point. So it was a surprise. On the 4th, Vogue posted another video on YouTube with RM, J-Hope, Suga, and Jungkook called BTS Teaches You Korean. And it's so good. I actually want them to do a whole series of these. I would actually learn Korean this way. On April 6th, they released the 2.0 dance practice. Then on April 7th, they released almost a mini teaser episode for the return of Run BTS called Everyone, It's Here, Run BTS 2.0 is here. The episode consists of a conversation in the practice room discussing how they want to carry Run BTS into this new era and in what form. They're unanimous that they should do it, but logistically, it would be easier to do it with less rigid of a format. The biggest difference that had some ARMY excited and other ARMYs disappointed was that they'll sometimes do Run BTS in units rather than always as a full group. Given how, with their individual brand deal commitments and likely future solo projects and activities, it will be harder to find time where they can all meet up as a group that's outside of rehearsal, performance, future songwriting camp times. That isn't to say that they'll never do it as a group, just that it will no longer require the full group. Personally, I'm actually really excited about this because it means we get Run, but we also will get a broader amount of activities, and also we'll get to see more of their unique friendships among each other. Think about Run Jin when he had Hobie on and they forced them to do the zombie escape live action roleplay. My only complaint about their plans so far is the idea that they might get rid of the Dallara Bangtan intro, because in my opinion that's iconic and can't be replaced. On April 8th, we got the Hooligan music video, which is a feast for the eyes. They look amazing in it. In my opinion, this music video is the most K-pop industry style music video, and that's not a bad thing. Its emphasis on the members' visuals and cool scene setting is very much appreciated. At 4:30 a.m. that day, JK also went live from his house, just one day away from the big concert. He titled the live stream Nervous, explaining that although his brain was calm, his body holds a certain nervous, anticipatory tension in it. He woke up because he was hungry. He's been heavily dieting before the concert. He saw on his phone that some people had taken videos of the rehearsal and leaked it, and he was really annoyed about that. He also took the time to address the last live stream. which was the one he did after drinks with his brother and friend. I talked about it either in the last episode or the one before, but at the time I talked about it, I was under the impression that he was being lambasted by the South Korean media and South Korean social media because of talking about smoking previously, but apparently it was actually the swearing that some people were taking issue with. Coincidentally, there's another idol right now being unfairly targeted for swearing one time, not even at anyone, just at himself or at a moment he found himself in. Anyway, I know it's only 2 instances, but it kind of reminds me of back around 2020 or 2021 when South Korea media and like social networking sites seemed obsessed with accusing idols of being bullies in high school. All you needed at the time to make an accusation and hurt an idol's reputation was a yearbook proving you attended the same school. Um, so lots of people seem to do this for fun. At least that's what it appeared from my perspective. So yeah, based on watching that unfold previously, this just seemed like another tall poppy syndrome witch hunt that's oddly swearing based. Anyway, Jungkook addressed it very diplomatically. He stated again that he felt really good that night, but he recognized that ARMY are a very diverse group of people, and so he apologized to any of the ARMY who he made uncomfortable. However, he personally doesn't think he did anything wrong, and he also acknowledges that many ARMY absolutely love seeing that side of him. He promises to keep himself in check, but he's also not going to change who he is. He'll always be honest and sincere with ARMY. For the people who posted hate just because they are haters, JK has nothing to say besides thanks for the attention, but it's none of my business if you guys get sued. Since he's always sincere towards ARMY, he was disappointed by the wavering reaction, i.e. those ARMY who he just apologized to also disappointed him. So he stated he's offering an apology and then moving on. He reiterates that he'll never commit crimes or do anything malicious, but even he can't predict his future actions because he's just that kind of person. So he might slip up sometimes and disappoint ARMY again, and he'll take feedback as it comes. He went on to discuss the problem with anonymity on the internet and how it makes people use their words carelessly, thinking those words won't have weight or consequence. He also touched on the use of AI and how, while AI is a useful tool for some things, using it to create fake images and false information is no different than the deepfake controversy that shook Korea not long ago. He doesn't think it should be used excessively. On a more lighthearted topics, JK showed us a photo of himself riding his motorcycle to the rehearsals in Goyang and also joked that he was going to take Tableau up on his offer to teach the members English. JK signed off around 5 a.m. so that he could go back to sleep. On April 9th, we got the first concert of the Arirang tour. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't very cooperative, and it absolutely poured rain nearly the entire concert. The stage basically had an inch of water over the surface, making dancing difficult, some stage effects impossible to see, and it caused the fog from the flares, fire, and smoke machines to not clear the stage properly. So the members were hard to see. That being said, BTS are professionals, and they gave the concert all their energy. I had a friend who was lucky enough to attend that night. She was also lucky enough to be in one of the few audience seats under a roof. So although she was cold, she stayed relatively dry. She also followed Jimin's advice and dressed warmly, wearing multiple layers. She reported after that in person, the concert was amazing, and the rain didn't affect her enjoyment of it from the audience at all. So that was good to know because it certainly affected the poor reverse filming crew. One cameraman slipped right off the stage at one point and fell with his heavy camera apparatus and everything. I felt so bad for them. They really did their best, but filming in those conditions is very, very difficult. So I hope that cameraman's okay. I saw it on a fan cam and I'm like, oh, buddy, I hope you're okay. After the concert, Jimin did a Weverse Live to talk about how grateful he was for ARMY who cheered and had fun despite the rain. He also wanted to express his regret that they couldn't show the full production that they'd worked on so hard properly because of the conditions. He also was very anxious about how he looked on the live stream because he accidentally started it too early and hadn't cleaned up from having his makeup half washed off and his hair a mess from being styled, then rain ruined. He explained that although BTS had a lot of fun, he couldn't enjoy it fully because of the stress of worrying about whether ARMY enjoyed the show. Jimin explained in the live stream that the message of both the album and the concert is that BTS are going to keep trying new things. In this case, they're trying a new production style where they take out a lot of the choreography. Jimin admitted that to being worried about meeting ARMY's expectations. Jimin says that going forward, they plan to challenge themselves with a lot of new things, and even if trials come their way, they will challenge them to move forward and try to change. He said they'll take feedback and fix things they can need to fix, and if they do things well, reflect on that too so they can do even better. But this is all about planning for the future. Jimin closed out the live by thanking the staff, dancers, and everyone involved in the concert who worked so hard, and reiterated that Jimin really loved the concert and the stage and is looking forward to seeing ARMY again at the next concert. Meanwhile, in North America, BTS's episode of Hot Ones on First We Feast was released on YouTube. For those who might not know, a few people who might not know, Hot Ones is an interview show in which the host asks questions in between the guests eating increasingly spicy wings. Like I said, I'm absolutely loving that BTS have been able to show off their senses of humor even more this comeback, and this episode was another fantastic opportunity for them to do so. They were hilarious. On April 11th, BTS had day 2 of their Goyang concerts, this time thankfully rain-free, though it was very cold and you could see the members' breath the whole night. So hopefully the audience also still dressed warmly. This time, even the online audiences could see the stage production properly. It's a really great show. I won't give specific spoilers in case there's anyone who is avoiding all social media until our specific concert date, but wow, it's such a good show. The final concert was on April 12th, and thankfully also no rain and even a little bit warmer than the day before, so they finished on a really happy note, and the members all seemed very pleased with everything at the end. On April 30th, Rolling Stone released its cover article profile of BTS, along with a filmed interview on YouTube called BTS Talks About the Super Bowl, Arirang Battles, and Jungkook's Explicit Lyrics cover story. At least that was the title at the time of me putting it in this document. Nowadays, people change YouTube title all the time to see what gets more clicks, so you can also just search for BTS and Rolling Stone and it should come up. They're also releasing individual interviews with the members every day for the next little bit. As of right now, they've only released RM's individual interview and Jin's interview. But by the time you're listening to this, more will be up. RM's interview is done in English. It's very good. Towards the end, RM talks a little bit about the mental toll the military took on his already sensitive nature, but he concludes that even if times get hard, he still thinks life is fun and he wants to keep living it. I'm sure those of you who followed RM's lyrics closely over all these years know he struggled from time to time, even before the military, so it's hard to think of the military adding to that, but it's good to, like RM does, remind ourselves that he is out now and he is comfortable and he has comfortable beds and he's with his second family once again. Oh, I also forgot to mention that they released the Hooligan dance practice on April 14th. I was so convinced that we'd get a music video for Normal after Swim came out that getting music videos for 2.0 and Hooligan have been a big surprise for me. And now I'm wondering if I was wrong about those hints in the Swim music video meaning something, or if I'm right and we have a fourth surprise coming soon. Maybe by the time you're listening to this, we'll know. Anyway, next BTS are off to Japan to perform their concerts in Tokyo. And after that, they will start the first part of their North American tour. They've actually already left for Japan. They took their private jet, which I always am happy to see. This day in BTS history, April 9th. April 9th, 2013. BTS haven't debuted yet, but they've opened their group Twitter account. On this day, Jimin posts a mirror selfie in the practice room just after midnight, and then another selfie a few hours later on his way to high school. April 9th, 2014. BTS are promoting Boy in Love and the album School Love Affair on music shows. On this day, they film a skit for M Countdown and also MBC Show Champion. They also filmed Bangtan Bombs titled V's Magic and What You Doin' Today, which you can watch on the Bangtan TV YouTube channel or on Bangtan Sub's YouTube channel if you need good subtitles. BTS, of course, are active on Twitter, all tweeting selfies and thanks to ARMY for their attendance. Jimin also tweets wondering if ARMY will consider being with them for life. April 9th, 2015. The song Primary You featuring Kwang Jin-ha and RM is released. The collaboration was actually made possible through Suga's connections. RM also films episode 10 and 11 of the variety show Problematic Men or Sexy Brain Men, depending on the translation you find. RM is a regular cast member, but the guest that day is Suho from EXO, and they have an interesting discussion on what it means to be the leader of a K-pop group. While RM is filming those episodes, episode 7 is airing on TV that day. BTS also releases the Bangtan Bomb BTS Multiplication Table Game. I don't know when this one was filmed, so if anyone wants to watch it for clues, let me know if you find any. April 9th, 2016. BTS filmed a special episode of MBC Music Core 500th episode. They all tweet selfies and thanks to ARMY who attend. Meanwhile, on TV, the filmed concert of KCON 26 in Abu Dhabi is aired, in which BTS also appear. April 9th, 2017. BTS are in Hawaii. It's day 5 and episode 5 of filming Bon Voyage Season 2. They travel from Oahu to Honolulu. V posts photos of him looking at paintings in Chicago and the Museum of Modern Art. Fun fact, it was actually V who got RM into art because RM decided to follow him to the museum in Chicago when they had a day off on tour. RM tweet recommends Young by the Chainsmokers. Jimin tweets a video of a cute little skink or gecko on JK's hand. I am sorry, I don't know my lizard species very well. I'm in the wrong climate to be overly familiar. Jimin also tweets selfies. April 9th, 2018. It's a quiet day, but that's not unusual for early 2018 when BTS were pulling themselves out of a rough period. Jimin tweets selfies with RM and J-Hope taken during the Euphoria short film. They had released the short film Euphoria Theme of Love Wonder just 2 days before this. April 9th, 2019. J-Hope tweets to ask ARMY what they did today. Today is likely their Korean rehearsal for Saturday Night Live, which you can see a clip of on the Bangtan TV YouTube channel or Bangtan Subs YouTube channel in episode BTS at SNL. They also filmed Bangtan Bomb's BTS English class and drummer boy V and JK. They're flying out the next day to travel to New York, where their Map of the Soul Persona first stage will be Organized Chaos of Saturday Night Live. April 9th, 2020. I have absolutely no idea what happened on this day. There are no visible activities. It's the pandemic, so everyone is staying so safe that they might just be at home. April 9th, 2021. It's the second year of the pandemic. Vaccines are being rolled out around the world, but BTS still haven't been able to have concerts since 2019. On this day, Suga is active on Weverse and says he misses ARMY. April 9th, 2022. In vast contrast to the previous year, this year BTS is in Las Vegas performing day 2 of the Permission to Dance concerts at Allegiant Stadium. Most importantly, I am also there. I have a pretty good seat in the corner of the 100 section. It's a great show, and I swear that Jimin looked directly at me at one point from the cart. I know it was likely him just looking at my general direction, but I'm taking it. You can see the behind the scenes of this concert in the PTD Las Vegas D-Day sketch making film, which I unhelpfully did not write down where to find, but I think it might be paid content. They also film interviews for BTS Monuments Beyond the Star on this day. You can find that docuseries on Disney+. They have their Instagram accounts at this point, so social media has moved mostly there, with RM once again posting photos of cherry blossoms sent to him by a friend, and the others posting photos from backstage at the concert and soundcheck. Suga is the only one who posts his selfie on Weverse instead of Instagram. April 9th, 2023. We're in the solo era of Chapter 2 now, with Jin already enlisted in the military and only 9 days left before J-Hope enlists. Suga shares his schedule for the upcoming release of his album D-Day. RM posts a photo of himself laying in the grass. Jin uses his phone time to comment on one of Jimin's posts, telling Jimin to give him a copy of his album. Jimin replies with, "Of course." RM posts photos of billboard of himself and a billboard of JK. Jimin and J-Hope appear in Le Seraphim's YouTube content, which I only have written down in Korean, unfortunately. And it's a very, very long title, and I can't read Korean, so I'm not going to say what it is. But it shows the behind the scenes of them doing dance challenges separately with the two members, and I'm sure you can find it if you search on Le Seraphim's YouTube channel. On the other side of the international dateline is JK, who is in LA recording 7. He has also played the demo for Standing Next to You, and he says he'll record that one the next day. You can see this on YouTube in Jungkook's 7 recording film and in the documentary Jungkook I Am Still, which I believe is available to purchase on Weverse. April 9th, 2024. Everyone is enlisted, but RM uses his phone time to recommend My House Is Not Home by David, spelled D4VD. I believe this is the same artist who is now embroiled in a possible murder investigation. So this particular recommendation may not have aged well in terms of support of the artist. On Amazon Prime Video, episode 5 of J-Hope's documentary series airs. He filmed it before he enlisted. It's Hope on the Street. April 9th, 2025. Jin and J-Hope are both free from the military. J-Hope returns to Korea after successfully wrapping up his North American tour in LA. He does a Weverse live in the car on his way home from the airport. He shows off the shirt that he bought that says single in the colors of the Google logo because he thought it was hilarious. Meanwhile, Jin is hard at work in Singapore, filming the video for Don't Say You Love Me. It's day 1 of filming, and they film in the botanical gardens in the morning and the apartment scenes later in the day and evening. You can see the filming in Jin Don't Say You Love Me MV shoot sketch. And that brings us to this year, April 9th, 2026, when BTS had their first concert of their massive world tour, now that they're all free and united. It's amazing how much work they get done in a single year when you consider that just 1 year ago, 5 of them were still enlisted and Jin and Hobie were still in the middle of solo activities. As discussed in the recent activity section, the concert had a rain problem, but was amazing. And BTS looked amazing. I mean, if you like wet, hot boys, that's the concert to watch. And that wraps up this day in history, April 9th. Song discussion. Dis-ease. The album B, released November 20th, 2020, was a special album made during the pandemic. The intent was for BTS to make a nearly completely self-produced album while sharing the process with ARMY in vlogs and live streams, as a way to connect during the pandemic and occupy the band during the time they were supposed to have been on a world tour. BTS therefore had a hand in every aspect of the album, from the concept to the design, photography, and presentation. It's an often overlooked album, I feel, because of how it's conceptually singular, and since they couldn't do grand performances anyway, the title track they chose was a more laid-back, serious track about the pandemic experience. But we're not talking about the title track today. Instead, we're talking about the absolute hype and fun track, Dis-ease, which talks about something I mentioned in the history section of this episode, which is how hard BTS work and how much they get done in a single calendar year. Dis-ease was produced by Brass Tracks, but written largely by J-Hope, along with a handful of other writers, the most familiar of names being Ghostloop, RM, P-Dog, Suga, and Jimin. During the press conference for the album, J-Hope explained that he wrote this song with the idea that everyone had their own disease. The Korean title is Pyong, which can either mean bottle or disease, while the English title of Dis-ease, with a hyphen, creates the clever wordplay of being both about disease and a feeling of not being at ease, which is J-Hope's particular disease. In this case, outlined by his inability to fully enjoy the rest that was forced upon them by the pandemic. There's no music video for the Dis-ease, and there's no choreography. So I'm going to get right into the lyrics and then talk about where you can find performances. As usual, I'm going to be referring to translations from Dulcet Bangtan and Bangtan Subs, as well as Colin, who was a translator who used to use Twitter, that made his own website, Then that website disappeared, and I've lost track of him. But back when he announced he was leaving Twitter, I saved all of his translations to my hard drive so I could still refer to them. For a little bit of background on Colin's particular translation style, he doesn't tend to translate literally and then explain the meaning. He tends to translate meaning and only explain what is literally there if it matters to understanding a metaphor. Although the song touches on the pandemic, anxiety, overwork, and all those serious things, the music is very fun and great to dance along to while you listen. It's very much the genre of BTS songs that is touching on serious topics, but in a very fun, upbeat kind of way. Something that J-Hope excels at and is showcased in not only his solo album he had released prior to this track, Hope World, but also his solo song from Wings, Mama, which I talked about in episode 23 of this podcast. Anyway, let's actually get into it. J-Hope starts us off with verse 1 with the line, uh-oh, it feels like I've missed something. Or an alternative translation is, something feels off. With a sip of coffee, I swallow my uneasiness. An endless rest. The uneasy happiness that has come to me suddenly. 24 hours. I have too much time on my hands. I could even sleep the whole day now. It's no problem. But it feels like I should be doing something body-breaking. Me, I'm just a bastard who eats all 3 meals a day. My crime, being the dog that bites myself for resting. Even if I shout, don't do that. It's strangling itself over accomplishments. Okay, I'm going to pause reading lyrics there to talk about that chunk, and especially those last 2 lines. J-Hope's lyrics are pretty straightforward. We know the feeling that he's describing. When you've been working hard for a long time and suddenly find yourself with a day or 2 off, eventually you're just sitting around your home thinking, shouldn't I be doing something though? We live in a society that puts all value on productivity. If you aren't producing something, if you aren't creating measurable value for either yourself or someone else, you're somehow wasting your time. It's why oftentimes people turn their hobbies into jobs, she says as she records a podcast about her hobby of listening and watching BTS. Though, in fairness, this costs me money, so it's technically a hobby. Still not a job. It's only a job if you make a profit. If it costs you money, it's a hobby. Anyway, if this happens to me, one of the laziest people I know, imagine how intense the feeling is for J-Hope, who has his life and career planned out at least 5 years in advance. J-Hope doesn't usually have time to eat 3 meals a day. The last 2 lines, the ones about being a dog that bites itself for resting, and even if he reprimands the dog, it strangles itself over success or accomplishments, reminds me of Suga's lyrics in a few songs, most noticeably in The Last and Snooze, where he talks about his desire for success becoming a leash that chokes him or a leash and shackles. It becomes something that forces him rather than something he chooses. Here, J-Hope is having the same experience. He should be happy with the time to rest, and instead he feels that pull of the leash strangling him to accomplish something. J-Hope continues, every day, do my thing, damn if I fail. It keeps growling, I tap the rotten rope. It feels insecure, this is a disease. Let's just talk about these 3 lines. Bangtan Subs continues the dog metaphor and translates the Korean into barking, and decides that the subject, which is often omitted in Korean, is J-Hope himself. So they say, I keep on barking. But Dulcet translates it as the vague, it keeps growling. Colin translates it into something else entirely, based on how he interprets the reference J-Hope is making, which is based on the mention of a rotten rope. Korea has a folktale in which a tiger is chasing children. At the end of the story, the tiger, in its growling greed and hunger, ignores a warning not to climb a rope to catch her prey, and then dies when the rotten rope crumbles mid-climb, and the tiger falls to its death. Greed has killed the tiger, who put aside common sense to satisfy its hunger. Colin interprets this reference as J-Hope feeling like a tiger is chasing him, and he's grasping at straws in an attempt to escape it. I'd argue that it makes more sense for J-Hope himself to be the tiger, wanting to climb even rotten ropes to satisfy his hunger for the stage, dancing, and his career, basically pursuing his goals even if it will get him killed. In this case, the thing that is growling would be J-Hope's ambitions. That's what's driving him forward towards even rotten ropes. The last line of J-Hope's verse is really hard to translate, and All three of the translations available to me don't really satisfy me in terms of clarity of meaning or naturalness of language, but it's basically J-Hope making a clever wordplay saying that his job's done. The vocalists all come in for the pre-chorus, singing that maybe they're sick because they have too many thoughts. They're childish and unable to keep things simple. They reference that they're actually young and only their bodies have grown. They're just limping through life. The chorus comforts that thought, literally, as Suga and J-Hope join JK and Jimin to sing, "Every day I comfort myself with this thought. We're all just the same, ain't so special. Hey man, keep 1-2 step. Let's all keep calm and treat the diseases. My disease, disease. Throw away fear, 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 fear." RM comes in on verse 2 saying that even his mind needs a vacation, and he should just let work be work. Then he says one of the coolest lines he's ever come up with. "I'm ill. Yeah, I'm work itself." The reason this line is brilliant is because the single word ill in this sentence has a quadruple meaning. First, ill in Korean can mean both work and one. So sonically in Korean, he could be saying, I'm work itself. Or he could be saying, I'm the best, I'm number one itself. But because he writes that first, I'm ill in English, it could also mean either of the two English meanings. So along with the Korean meanings, it could also be I'm sick, I'm work itself, or the slang term for ill, which might be out of favor these days, is super amazing. If something's ill, it's incredible. So he could be saying, I'm incredible, I'm work itself. RM goes on to say that the friend called Rest, oh, I never liked him. But then he wonders where the limits are. How much money do you have to earn to be happy? As in, what are we all working frantically towards? When is the end point where we get our reward of happiness? Are we even pursuing it by the correct means? This reminds me of one of RM's ending comments during the Most Beautiful Moment in Life concert series, when he said that a lot of people view happiness as something they work to achieve, but it's better to remember that happiness is something you experience even in the process of achieving things. RM continues, this glass bottle or disease hits your head. Again, remember that bottle and disease sound the same in Korean, so a glass bottle hitting your head hurts for sure. A glass disease hitting your head might be referring to something that causes a fragile mentality. RM's next line is it the world that's diseased or am I? I'm confused. Which reminds me of his earlier 2020 collab with Suga called Strange, which was released on the August D album D2. In that song, he and Suga debate what is stranger, a world that has its eyes closed, blinding a man who can see, or the fact that there's a man with his eyes open and a world with its eyes closed. RM concludes his verse with lines that seem to conclude that earlier debate. Even when I take off my glasses, I can clearly see the darkness. No matter what label gets attached from now on, I hope I stay true to myself. Suga comes in with his short verse, furthering the discussion of where exactly the disease is in the world. Everyone has a lot of diseases. What confuses me is the fact that humans by nature are evil and ugly. There are over 400 different diseases of the mind alone, so there shouldn't be that many they don't apply to. Yo, is it the world or me who's diseased? Would it be simply the difference in interpretation of those judging? Is it that simple? I don't know. It's much quicker to change myself than to try to change someone else. I can't help but fast forward here when it comes to Suga and talk about his most recent work developing a music therapy program for autistic youth. Neurodivergence, of course, isn't a disease, only a difference. But that is also a definition based on the interpretation of society. There are plenty of places in the world who think of it as a curable disease. Maybe that's too sticky a topic to use to get at what I'm trying to say, but sort of, who decides what normal is? My grocery store has lower stimulation hours where they cut half the lights in the store. It's nice. Why does everything have to be lit, like the surface of the sun, the rest of the time? But it's easier for me to wear sunglasses than to try to get the world to move permanently to lower stimulation hours. Basically, whether it's the world or you who's diseased, the outcome is the same, because it's easier to adapt than to change the world. So you have to either figure out how to live either as a healthy person in a diseased world or as a diseased person in a healthy world. We get the pre-chorus and chorus again, and then we get Jimin's Great Bridge. In the comeback live for B, BTS informed us that although JK had done a rough sketch of the bridge, When Jimin got in the booth, he improvised this bridge and ended up writing it in about 3 to 4 minutes. J-Hope and P-Dog absolutely loved it, and so Jimin's bridge was chosen for the song. JK later released his own demo version on Weverse so that ARMY could hear the difference. It's amazing how much talent is in this group, because if I hadn't heard Jimin's bridge, I also would have loved JK's. The bridge is done by all 4 members of the vocal line in the final recording, and it's one giant pep talk. The bridge promises to keep going because life goes on, to just walk in your own style. When the night comes, BTS will close their eyes and believe in the self that they used to know, and then they conclude with, "Hey, wake up one more time. It's morning again. We have to live through this day. Let's go. One more night. We don't know what'll be waiting for us at the end of this. There's no eternal night. I've become stronger. Fireworks explode. I will never fade away." The translator Colin believes the fireworks exploding line is about the energy bursting out from within the singer, rather than literal fireworks. The line about there being no eternal night reminds me most of Spring Day, which the translator Dulcet also is reminded of with that line. No darkness or season can last forever. Basically, the bridge reminds us to keep going, to take it one day at a time, even when you feel sick and tired. Whether your disease is too much ambition, like J-Hope, too many thoughts, like RM, or being too worn out by a cruel world, like Suga, Jimin's bridge gives you the solution. Just wake up tomorrow and try to make it worth it. Soldier on. There is no permanent hardship. Don't ever let yourself fade away. We finish with a repeat of the chorus, which is also optimistic, reminding us once again that everyone is the same, and we can take the time to try to heal and get rid of our fear. In terms of performances, BTS performed this song at some of the Permission to Dance concerts, which were held between 2021 and 2022 in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and Seoul, as well as the online-only fan meeting Suuzu for their 8th anniversary. As I said, Disease doesn't have any choreo, and since it's so fun sounding, they usually use it as a way to get closer to the audience. At Suuzu, which was the first ever performance of the song, they wandered out among the video screens that showed members of ARMY watching online. At the PTD concerts, it was sung on the initial online-only concert, in all 4 LA shows, Day 1 in Seoul, and in the encore of Day 1 and 3 in Las Vegas. A highlight of their free-spirited Permission to Dance performances of it was that occasionally, when J-Hope got to the line about being a dog that bites itself, RM would get down on all 4s and pretend to be a dog, because he's a giant goofball like that. You can watch one of the LA concerts on Disney+, so if you have that streaming service, I recommend it. A fun fact about this song to close out, J-Hope accidentally spoiled the beat on livestream. During their lives where they let us follow the album making process, J-Hope tried to show us what it looked like for him to be working on songs in his studio. He assumed that if he was wearing his headphones, the camera wouldn't be able to pick up the sound. He was wrong. We got to hear the beat for a few minutes before a staff member came to alert him to the fact that we could still hear the music. After that, if they showed us clips from the studios, they were often pre-recorded so that they could mute all music before release. Okay, I apologize if the sound is a little bit off. I'm using a different microphone just to record this outro. So, at the end of every episode, I usually tell you what's going on in the next episode. So, I already spun the random song generator for next episode. And the result was the song quotation mark from CD 3 of the album Proof, which means next episode, we'll be talking about an unreleased song that was eventually released as a demo track on a special CD. So that will be really interesting. It will be harder for people to listen to the song, but I'm pretty sure people have uploaded it to YouTube. So anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. As for when the next episode will be, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, I'm not entirely sure. So I'm not going to pick a day, but it will be in the next, let's say, 3 weeks. Okay? Great. Thank you for listening. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. If you'd like to discuss this episode, or for next week's song or have a say in what song gets chosen in the future, you can find me on Patreon and Ko-fi at A Brand New Day Pod. You can also find me on Blue Sky at A Brand New Day Pod, or you can email me at abrandnewdaypod@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a good day.